So I remember this moment back in the 80s when I realized that all of the women I knew had been sexually assaulted in some way, shape, or form. All of the women. And I knew a lot of people, a lot of women at Simmons College at the time. So the conversations I was having there and in other places, in my social circles were pretty broad. So to come to this realization, this awareness that every single woman I knew and had a conversation with had been sexually assaulted kind of stopped me in my tracks for a bit. And I think I even remember photographically the moment that I realized it. I was actually walking down the street somewhere. I don't know if I was having a conversation at the time or if I was just on my own. I actually remember what street it was. I remember what corner I was near. Interestingly enough, but that has stuck with me, and it changed my awareness of what was necessary. Again, it was information I couldn't unhear, I couldn't unsee, I couldn't unfeel. And it raised an issue that was collective, not just collective for women in, say, the, cis heteronormative context I was operating in at the time and still operate in, but that it said something about men that included me and pointed to something that needed to happen, some things that needed to happen, something that needed to change. And that being a main important moment, but it was one of the moments that helped solidify for me that not only was it important to listen to the stories of women, and of course listen to the stories of queer folk and the LGBTQ community, to listen to the stories of children, to make our communities safe for people to talk about their experiences, their oppression, their trauma, including men and boys. But that this was a key issue, that this could not be walked back, and that it was something that, of course, women were holding these stories all the time. And these are not new. And these stories are continuing to be to be created. Men are continuing to assault, to sexually violate, physically violate women and children in the earth to this day, to this moment. But that awareness was key for me in that it, again, reminded me and informed me that work had to be done to understand what this all meant, and that action needed to be taken to heal this situation, to liberate people from these crimes, these unethical actions, these non-consensual attacks and engagements, if you will. And it reminds me today, to this very moment, that how important it is for us to make, not only to make safe space for people who are survivors of trauma to tell their stories, but for, and I'll say primarily men, to really engage why it is us who create the danger for women in the world, who create the danger for children, the earth, and other men in this world. That there's something we as men have to engage, something we have to be honest about, something that we have to bring from the darkness into the light, to rectify, to heal, to infuse justice into.